Hello gamers, it's Nyce, and hope all you glorious gamers are having a nice day. Today we'll be interviewing Ashes of Creation Director of Communications, Margaret Krohn. There will be timestamps in the description and of course questions directly from you, the community. I'll keep this intro short as this will be a long one, so don't forget to like and make sure you're subscribed, and I hope you all enjoy. Hello gamers, it's Nyce. Welcome to another Ashes of Creation video. Today we have another interview. This time we are joined by Director of Communications, Margaret Krohn. Thank you so much for doing this. Appreciate you being here. If you want to introduce everybody, tell them what you do at Intrepid Studios, you can do that.
Sure. Yeah, I can do that. So I'm Margaret, Luperza Krohn. Luperza is like my gamer tag that I've gone by for a really long time. So if you're, someone who has played some of the MMOs that I have or other games, you might recognize it. But yeah, I'm the director of communications here at Intrepid Studios. Since titles can kind of be a little bit finicky, I oversee our game services divisions, which is basically our community, marketing, public relations, social content, customer support, live events, and more. Basically, if there's an asset or copy that is published on any of our platforms, it probably lands somewhere on my desk. I've kind of been in the industry for over 15 years across a bunch of different roles from like game design, QA, community, media, and content creation. So that's why I'm managing such weird conglomeration of teams.
Different roles, wearing a lot of hats
Yeah,
there.
it's very weird because normally, like, a director of communications just manages, like, PR probably is
Yeah.
is what you'll often see, yeah.
All right. Well, we have we'll go ahead and get into the interview segment here, and we'll start off with question number one. Tell us about your history in the gaming space before your time at Intrepid Studios.
Do you want, like, you want the whole list?
You don't have to get the whole resume, but like I guess highlights, maybe different companies and maybe roles there.
Yeah, sure, I can talk a little bit more about that. I think it also because I think a lot of people don't know maybe a lot of the titles that I've worked on, 'cause I haven't done a lot of interviews actually for Intrepid, that is.
Yeah.
I started in QA at Sony Online Entertainment, and I got a design apprenticeship there, which allowed me to basically move into, some really fun stuff. I worked on Free Realms where I got to write lore and quests and build systems and zones and basically help shape the world, which was really, really cool. It's one of my favorite projects that I've gotten to work
Wow.
on just because it was made for kids, but like families. And so you just got to be really whimsical and fun with it, which I really enjoyed. And then from there, I helped on Clone Wars Adventures. I was mostly doing Flash mini games for them,
Okay.
which was a time. It was a time. Flash mini games were like
Oh
the
man.
thing.
Yeah.
And then there were like Facebook mini games, and kind of as we went that direction with some things. I didn't work on those projects, but I got to like see how those were coming to fruition, which was really interesting. And then from there, I started working on PlanetSide 2, where my focus was on the core combat team. We were like a really small team, but I got to design classes and systems, like weapon attachments and things like that, which was
Oh wow.
really very, very neat and fun.
Yeah.
Then I was kind of forced into a community role. I talked a little bit about that at one of the PAXs that I was at,
Okay.
and got a little emotional. So we won't do that here. No crying. I didn't realize how emotional I was about that, but it was had that not happened, I don't think I'd be where I am right now. So I am thankful for it, but I also feel like my career could have gone in like such a different path if I didn't go down the community path. But I got to work on PlanetSide 2, and EverQuest 2 is like my main community management roles. And then I started helping also with like EverQuest, DCUO, Payday, H1Z1, and some other SOE
Oh
IPs that
wow.
came up as things moved. I built and I basically built a lot of video and live programs for them from the ground up. We started with I did a lot of the broadcasting from my house, and then we started building out studios. So we ended up with like 3 studios by the time I left, which was pretty amazing. I got to host and run a lot of live events, including like SOE Live, esports division stuff. I managed a lot of creators and developed kind of studio level strategies for marketing communications. And I was really fortunate enough to even travel the world to get to meet publishers for our games in other regions, which was like such
Wow.
an amazing experience. And then eventually I did leave SOE, and I ended up working for Curse, where I had a ton of fun. I got to like play games, basically. That was my job. It was so cool. And I hosted a gaming channel for them. It was so fun. I really enjoyed it. But then they got bought out by Twitch, and I took on a new role over at NCSoft where I got to manage their online video production. I worked on Blade and Soul, Ion, Lineage 2, Guild Wars 2, and other NCSoft IPs, one including that didn't get to launch, which was MXM, which was such a fun project. I'm sad that that didn't make it to
Oh,
fruition. And somewhere along the way, I basically helped co-partner Roll For It, which is a tabletop broadcast studio. And so, like TLDR, if you want to skip to just this, I've worn a lot of hats, and
yes.
they kind of all revolve around connecting games and players and telling stories that really make people feel something. I think that that's something that I love, and I don't know. There's something about emotions, whether it's, education, fun, or sad, or whatever it may be, that I think is what like has a big impact on us as people, right?
That was lovely. I actually did not know a lot of that, and I promise you, I prepared for this, but I didn't know a lot of that. So that's very interesting. I'm gonna give you a small follow up question because
Ooh, go for it.
something
Yeah.
you mentioned there. Do you feel like that because of that involvement you had on Planet Side 2, do you ever find yourself obviously sticking with your role here at Intrepid, but do you ever find like gameplay decisions being made and you want to provide like a little bit of not like stepping into other people's realms, but you're like, maybe this skill could do something like this, just small things maybe.
I definitely do. I have my thoughts. I feel like we all,
Yeah.
as gamers, have our feelings, but I know that this is not, I'm not a designer. I try not to overstep my role. But the beautiful thing about Intrepid is that although we have hierarchy, otherwise chaos would ensue, we are very like flat leveled in regards to like feedback and things like that.
Yeah.
Stephen has created such an amazing space for us to feel comfortable bringing up our thoughts and our feedback. We have like a playtest channel where basically anytime you're playing, you can like provide feedback. It can be like 2 a.m. and you can just be like, I encountered this issue and
Yeah.
I think that this sucks. And a designer who worked on that will maybe even respond to you and be like, hey, this is why we decided to do this, or we'll keep that in mind as we
Oh,
move forward. Right. So
yeah.
I think that, yes, 100%. If I was creating it, maybe I would not do certain things or I would do certain things.
Yeah.
But I think generally, I try not to overstep. I know where my role fits into
Of
this.
course, yeah.
And yeah, I do miss designing sometimes, but that's the beauty of being a DM. And I get to like do that in my other spaces that I work
Yes.
in. And maybe someday, in a future Ashes of Creation project, maybe I'll do some more design stuff. I have gotten to do some design, which has been pretty cool. You may have heard me talking about it. When we were a
Yes.
very small team, I used to help design like the cosmetic sets and design kind of like what those creatures are and where
Mhm.
they live in the world and how they exist in those buildings and how they exist and things like that. And I thought that kind of gave me that, creative design
Yeah. Gave you that itch.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it covered that itch, which I thought was really fun. And now the designers have taken those things and brought them into the world and into fruition. And like, it's so cool to see something that I've designed be created and put into the world.
You did the last cosmetic pack that was sold, right? The
I
the
did.
necromancer kind of vibe one.
Everyone's always like, you look like such a nice person. And
That
then you
was
have like
my
this. I love
favorite pack.
horror stuff.
That
Yeah.
was that was probably my favorite pack. I'll be honest, I
Oh, I'm so
didn't get nothing
happy.
out of that pack, but it was my favorite. Only reason I did it is because I figured since it was the last pack, it was going to be the most common scene once the game launches. So
Mm.
I was like, that one's my favorite. But yeah, and yeah, I was happy to learn that you designed it. So that's pretty cool.
That's interesting. What's really funny is that set. There were people who loved it and there were people who hated it. I think that that was pretty much every single one. There was like a group of people who loved
Oh
it and a
yeah,
group of people who didn't. And I think that that's the beauty of having different types of things.
yes,
There's all kinds of people. Some people want like a frilly dress, and other people want this dark, grim thing, and other people just want to look like a knight, right? And I
yeah,
think that the beauty of MMOs is that you get to, create that vision of your character and
yes,
utilize whatever armor sets you want, which I think is fun.
indeed. All right. Question number 2. What would you attribute the success and popularity of Ashes of Creation to, having not spent anything on marketing yet?
Community first development. I think that is like the biggest thing for us. We're building the game that we as like MMO players have wanted for years, and we're doing it with our community, not just like for them. I think regular development showcases, direct engagement, feedback loops, and like obviously a very bold creative director who's like not afraid to
Oh
speak his
yeah.
own
Oh
mind
yeah.
is basically the recipe for a word of mouth magic, right? I think people
Hmm.
believe in the vision that we have and they stick around because we're continuing to show progress. Yes, the progress may not be at the speed that everyone else wants it to be, but it's at the speed that works for us. And hopefully, people enjoy the journey. And we've told people so many times over and over, if you're not interested in the journey, come join us when we launch. That's when we're going to do a lot of the big pushes anyway. And
Yeah.
we'll see you will see people come back around
Of
once
course.
we're launched. It's going to be pretty amazing.
Nice. Okay. Okay. Number three.
Uh, if
Okay.
I can add a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think a huge part of that momentum comes from Steven himself. His presence in the community and like the way that he's transparent about the studio as and being a studio head in the way that he is, I think have played like a massive role in building trust and keeping people engaged. And obviously there's a give and take there, right?
Hmm.
But I think he doesn't just show up for a live stream. He's like in the trenches daily, reviewing systems, talking to players, answering questions and like driving that clear, consistent vision that I think players resonate with. Obviously, when he talks about it, people are like, yeah, that's what I want. That's like, 'cause he's a gamer
Yes.
himself, right?
Exactly.
And I think that kind of hands on leadership is really rare. I've worked at a lot of places, and I think this has been a major factor in how Ashes of Creation has really built such a passionate, loyal following without the traditional marketing that you see and the marketing spend that you see at other companies. So I just want to add that a little bit in there because
No, no,
I do
that's
think that is such a huge aspect of it
and
as well.
you're 100% right. Like I wouldn't be following this game, covering this game, have as much faith as I do in this project if it wasn't for Steven. I think that's the reason most of us follow Ashes of Creations because one, Steven's vision is like, oh, we're gonna have systems X, Y, Z, yes, all that, but you hear the passion. It's not just like another corporate CEO saying like, oh, we're gonna have this great game, you're gonna love it, we're gonna do this. It's you get that by gamers for gamers vibe. You uh,
I
the
mean,
best
this
word
is
is passion.
what he
Yeah,
wants. Like, this is the game that he
yeah.
wants to play, you know? So I think that is, yeah.
Well said. Well said. And speaking of Sir Steven, what's it like working with such an open and passionate creative director like Steven, who interacts frequently with the community, and how does that play a role with your communications team?
Yeah. Um, Stephen isn't just like a creative director, right? He's the heart of this project, in my opinion. He's deeply involved in nearly every aspect, like I said before, from high level systems design and world building, all the way down to like naming conventions and obviously live stream content
Yeah.
and in-game tooltips. Like there's just such a wide variety of things that he's working on. I think that the folks who join us for our PI meetings see that like he just lists off all of these amazing things that we're working on. If you don't know, we meet with those folks like once a month and answer their questions and kind of give them an update on like what's going on development wise, which has been pretty amazing. But his leadership goes like beyond just design. He's also really hands on with the business side of things, like the studio vision,
Oh yeah.
hiring. Like no one gets through the door without his stamp of approval, which is, it does slow down the process. But I think it also makes sure that like the people who are here, who are working for us, are truly some of the most amazing, passionate people that you will have working for you. We have such an amazing, list of staff members who have worked on amazing projects, partner conversations, long-term strategies. This isn't just like a job for him. I think it's his passion and, his passion and life passion. So I
Yeah.
think that that's been pretty amazing. That level of involvement kind of has set the tone for the entire studio. It means that our like communications team always has a direct line to the vision and like the reason behind why we're making decisions. And I hope that my team feels like I give that, bring that information down
Yeah.
to them on a daily basis. I try to be as communicative as I can, especially as the director, right?
Yeah.
But it also means we're constantly calibrating, right? Because when your creative director is that connected to both the product and the players, and you have to kind of basically stay nimble and aligned and in tune with both like internal development and external sentiment.
Mm.
His accessibility isn't just like a nice to have. I think it's part of like what makes Ashes of Creation it's the community feel genuinely connected to the developers
Oh yeah.
and to the journey that we're like all on together. So I think that it's a huge impact, and it's a huge impact on like how we communicate and what my team does on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So,
And to kind of add to that, there's two sides of it for me because even just from a content creator perspective, or rather throw out the content creator part, just as a member of the community, knowing that I can just at whatever in Discord and I might actually get a response
makes me
or a
nervous.
response. I'm gonna get to that. So like I'm able to just like you can DM Steven, you can DM this person, I can DM you, and
Mhm.
and it's not just me, it's like regular members of the community, have a DM
Yeah.
thread with Steven, like, hey, I have this concern, I have this, or he'll respond to anybody in Discord, no matter who they are. And that's something
Please
that's
don't
gotta
do that.
be
He's got a lot of stuff to do.
man, I don't know how he even does that, to be honest, but like him being that accessible, I'm sure has some negatives. Of course, it helps establish, like you said, with him interviewing everybody, like that helps
I don't think it has
retain to.
negatives necessarily. I think has it has scalability issues. It's not
Yes.
something that can be done long term. We have like millions of players who are registered to play our product, right? I think that is just not scalable to have one
Yes.
person be like a point of communication
Mm-hmm.
contact. Like we have to utilize the communication, like the community team and the people who, the PR and um, social media team and whatnot. We need to utilize the people that we have on my team to
Yes.
communicate those things so that they can be um, on a larger scale presented to folks instead of a one person thing or having to hunt down information. I've
Mm-hmm.
definitely seen that be a thing where people are like, I don't want to have to go search for something in Discord as
Mm-hmm.
like an answer to something, right? So we try to find more scalable solutions. There's not always like a perfect answer for how to do that with the way that we do communication.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I don't think there's necessarily it's a bad thing, I don't think.
No, it's more of like I meant negative as like a Steven schedule kind of thing, like getting busy, distracting
Yeah.
him, and
He
yeah.
shared his schedule one
Like,
time,
like
and
someone
people
asked
are
a question,
like,
like, "Did Steven answer that
yeah,
on Discord?" He said, "What? Oh, I didn't know we were talking about that yet." Kind of thing.
yeah.
That's interesting. Okay. Um, but yeah, like we said, that's one of the things that have helped this community have the vibe it has, like being so approachable, being so open, and just accessible. Like,
I don't
it's
think
why
I
I'm
would
here.
work yeah, I don't think I would have worked here and worked here for so long if it wasn't for the person Steven is.
Yes.
When I was looking at potential opportunities, I had a friend who worked here who had been trying to hire me for like 2 years. They were like,
Oh.
"Please come join us," and like would send me their updates every week or like whenever they were doing them and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, I have the email chain. It's really funny that he just kept spamming me. He really wanted me to come work for Intrepid. But I was happy where I was, and at some point, I basically was like, "All right, I'll chat with Steven." And after having that like phone call with him,
Yeah.
I was like, "Wow, I would love to work with someone who is that passionate and caring about the people that work for him." I've worked for a lot of like big AAA companies,
Hmm.
and you don't have that personability. Not that those companies weren't like great in their own ways, but yeah, it's just such a different vibe. And obviously, as we're growing, we have to figure out how to keep that
Yes.
vibe, but also keep organization up so that chaos doesn't ensue.
True. True. Retain that intrepid culture.
Yeah, and that's a hard thing. When you have a big growth as a company, it doesn't matter if you're a game company or whatever type of company you are. As you grow, there are growing pains, and
Yeah.
communication can be a huge aspect of that. So I try to help with internal communications as well, and trying to make sure that, like, as we scale and as we grow, we don't lose that vibe.
Nice. All right. So I made a Reddit post where I'll be grabbing some questions from the community as well, just so this isn't just
Oh
like my
no.
question. So we had some members of the community leave their feedback, and I pretty much went by upvotes and what I thought was the most good question, I guess, too, but really just went by upvotes. And then I sent it to some people in our Discord, and then they said, oh, yeah, I like these as well. So we'll start with the first community question. This first one comes from Sonic Explosion. They ask, what do you think the biggest obstacle towards marketing Ashes will be?
Managing expectations in an open development environment. I think it's been the hardest not like the hardest, but like the biggest thing for me. I'm used to having a product that is complete and then marketing that product, right? It's
Hmm.
such a different experience. When players are looped in like this early, they're seeing how the sausage gets made, right? They're
Yeah.
seeing the bugs. I don't know why I said bigs, the bugs. My dyslexia is coming in. The pivots, right? Like the
Yeah.
changes that we have to make, the decision changes we have to make.
Hmm.
Which sometimes people can be like, "Well, you said this time," and it's like, "Well, yeah, now design it. Now that we see it implemented, it needs to be designed in a different way, right?"
I have a
The
statement from
timeline.
2014 that said this wouldn't be this way, you know.
No, we get that. We get
Yeah.
that. And I understand people want to keep us accountable, but like that's why we continually keep saying things have changed, right? And the next thing beyond that is like timeline changes, right? When you are a product that is in development and you're not publicly showcasing that, there are tons of timeline changes. I mean, you see products that have been developed for 3 or 5 years and they get canceled and then they
Hmm.
shift to a new product, right? So
Yep.
I think like there's a lot of elements of that like that I think is just very hard to manage on the expectation side with the timeline changes. And then unfinished systems, right? We're showing these systems or these features early on and sometimes people can be like, well, this is not great. And we're like, we know it's not great. We're just trying to make it, is it functional, right?
Yeah.
Like there are different types of testing phases. There is, here's the prototype of what this is. Here's the functional testing. This is like, does this do X, Y, Z, right? And
Yeah.
then there's that polish and finish where you're like building onto that system as like a core system. And now you're putting all of the elements like the frills and the attachments and things like that onto those whether that's a feature or a system, right? So all of that, I think it's going to be like, is going to be and continuing and has been the biggest challenge for us, an obstacle. So yeah, I think it is making sure that people understand the context. So the
Yeah.
context of why we're doing those things, right? Here's what and here's why. A test is not a launch. A delay is not a failure. Messaging that difference, I think, especially as clips circulate without context, I think is like it's always on the top of my mind, at least
Yeah.
from like a communications perspective.
Okay. That makes sense. So let's discuss the state of the MMORPG genre. It seems the most popular MMORPGs are over 10 years old, and it's been somewhat rough for newcomers to get established. And this genre just has had temporary launch hypes. And why do you think this is the case? Like, why is the
I
genre
guess this
just,
is more my personal opinion, so
yeah,
don't come at me. But I've gotten to work on some pretty OG products that I feel have been fairly successful that are still going to this day, and I think that's pretty amazing. So from my perspective, the longevity in the MMO space isn't easy to earn, right? It takes consistent content, a strong core loop, and a live team that understands how to like evolve the world over time. Because if you're not changing things as like tech progresses, as other
mm-hmm,
things move forward, like you're just not going to be able to keep up.
true.
Um, Many newer MMOs that come out with like the big bang,
Yeah.
I think that they get like there's definitely an audience that's hungry for the content,
Yes.
right? Like they want that type of game, but I think they struggle to retain players because they either chase like that short term trend, they launch without like enough depth per se
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, or and you can launch without depth, but then you have to like come up with like you have to have stuff coming out like
Yeah.
after that to like keep people going right to retain that retention,
Mm-hmm.
and then like a lack of like really clear long term vision. They have this vision of like here's the product, and I think sometimes they're designing those as like those here's a one top shot story type of thing, but that's not what MMOs are about. It's about like the continuation, the way that the
Yes.
world evolves and changes, the way that you affect the story and the story continues on, right? I think the classics that still dominate in today's space
Yeah.
of MMORPGs have earned their spot by like iterating, listening, and committing to their communities for like a longer haul. And it also doesn't help that MMO players are some of the most passionate
Oh,
and
yeah.
discerning audiences in the gaming space.
Mm-hmm.
If your systems aren't cohesive, if your content lacks meaning, or your world doesn't feel like alive, and I think we're still, we're early in development, so that I feel like we're not a good example of that quite yet, right? Because we keep telling people we're not a game yet.
Yeah.
They'll move on fast. We get that. I think Ashes of Creation, we're taking a slower road because we want to avoid that trap, right? We're not aiming to launch. We're not aiming for launch hype right now, right? We're aiming for lasting impact.
Yeah.
Obviously we don't mind a bit of hype, but that obviously helps us reach more folks. We want that, but I think right now, like our focus is, developing that product that people will enjoy, not just at the launch of it, but as we move forward and continue to update it.
Yeah, I think
Sorry, I feel
that's
like I just rambled,
no. I
but
think that's fair. I think a lot of like current testers or players, whatever term you want to use, are more concerned with and not that they're necessarily wrong for feeling this way, but they're more concerned like, okay, how does this look right now? How's this phase going to go? How's this phase going to launch? Where as developers, sometimes you gotta worry about that. That is important, but you're more so looking at things in a more long-term scope. So it's really kind of hard to balance like, okay, there's people playing or testing this game often, but we're trying to get to the finish line. We're looking like years or months or whatever in advance. So I
yeah,
guess
I think you kind of worded it well there, which is, I think that, well, I know this. Players are testing, right? That right now they are testing some different features and systems, and I think that with that comes some understanding of like the bigger picture.
yeah,
But I don't think we expect people to know that and understand that necessarily. We try to communicate it, but we understand when we're like taking in that feedback that not everyone has the bigger picture. So it is good to still get the like whatever that criticism is because it makes sure that we're like moving forward. And a lot of the time that feedback is very much, oh yeah, that's all stuff we're feeling too. And we're going to solve that with X, Y, and Z, right?
yeah,
So I think that for us, there's so many systems and moving pieces that all connect to each other.
yeah,
And because they're not in the state that they're intended to be at launch, right now we know that they don't feel perfect, right? We know that. So I think people come in with the expectation of, like you said, being a player and having that perfect experience. But this is a true alpha test. And that means that you're not going to have that experience. You are going to see how the sausage is made. Like I said before, you're going to see those early experiences where not all the systems are connected in the way that they're meant to be long term.
yeah. It doesn't mean you won't have fun per se, but doesn't mean it's complete. Gotcha.
Oh yeah, I've had plenty of super fun moments, and some really intense ones, especially with caravans. I feel like my heart is like like racing out of my chest. Sometimes I'm like, let's just make it to that thing. I don't know,
All
but
right.
yeah.
So, just as a somewhat follow up to that, just a little easy one for you so you can relax. What's your favorite
Okay.
MMO and what games are you playing right now?
Ooh, favorite MMO. I don't think I can like pick a favorite. I think that's hard. So if you don't mind, could I give you like a few and like the reasons why I like them?
Fine. Take the easy way out.
So for PvP, I really loved Dayak and Warhammer Online. Like if those two games could have like a little baby, I think it would create like the perfect
Yeah,
PvP
yeah.
cute baby ever. Yeah, like so good. On the PvE/rating side, I feel like Vanguard Saga of Heroes just has like a special place in my heart. I was a blood
Definitely.
mage main, and that was just such a unique class. I have yet to see something like that in another game. I did really love EverQuest, but like Vanguard kind of ate it for me. And then for FPS, I would say PlanetSide 2. I know that I worked on PlanetSide 2, so it's weird. Maybe it's bad to say that. I
No
just don't
bias at
think
all.
that
No.
there's any other like MMO FPSs on like that level.
Mm.
And I have some pretty like epic memories playing that. So I think those would be my favorite MMOs per like genre of MMO. Um, but lately, I have been kind of playing at odd hours, and basically, when my son is either sleeping or feeding, I kind of tried to do my best to play where I can. When I have time, obviously, I'm playing Ashes of Creation. We have some playtest internally. I play daily with like the director team, so it's been pretty cool and fun to do that. I also bounce between Sims, Animal Crossing. I just can't get rid of it. Animal Crossing will just like live in my heart forever. It's
Yeah.
and it's like easy. You can just like, take your Switch with you and play like while you're waiting in doctor's office or something. It's just yeah. Baldur's Gate 3, so good. Oh my gosh. I
Nice.
played through like 4 different times in different ways, and I just love it. It's so good. And then Sea of Thieves, I
Oh,
love Sea of Thieves. It's so good. I think that I would love us to incorporate some of the systems
I
in
was
that
just gonna
game into
ask that.
ours. Like it's
I'm
so
glad you like
good.
it. I'm glad you like it.
I also played Blueprints. I'm not or
What's that?
Blueprints, like Prince, like as in like the son of a king. I don't know if sometimes
Oh,
when I
okay, okay.
talk, people hear print. I don't know, but I feel like it was really good. If you haven't played it and you enjoy like roguelike myst type of games, I would highly recommend it. And then obviously I play tabletop RPGs. Anybody who knows me, I'm like, I love them. I try to roll like dice once a week if I can with my homies. So
Nice.
yeah, I love games. I used to stream every day and I just can't do it anymore. And I think that like it's a little harder for me to do the streaming side of it now that I'm like such a public person for a game company.
Yeah.
Just because like I feel like there's a lot of like pressure when I'm on the stream to like answer questions and things like that. And I just want to play. I just want to play and have fun. And
Yeah.
so
It's supposed to be
for
your
those of
escape
you
from all
who
that.
yeah, so for those of you who like are like I wish you would stream more again, I think that that's where I've been trying to find like the line, right? Like I do love streaming. I
Hmm.
miss it a bit, but I also like I like playing and just like enjoying my time playing.
Yeah.
Not that I don't enjoy it while streaming. I just think like there's just so much pressure that I feel like anxiety over it.
I,
And I'm yeah, I
I
don't
think
know.
anyone for Intrepid would have trouble streaming. Like, I don't think Steven can just be like, let me go chill. Let me go stream some Fortnite and not get 30 Ashes questions. No one's going to give him building. Oh, land at Tilted Towers. No, it's just like, summon or win. Like, what is this Fortnite BS you got going on here? So
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure that's
I
hard.
was able to do a lot of that with at other companies, but I didn't play such like a public role at those companies.
Mhm.
So it was just very different. Or even when I did, I wasn't like a director level. I feel like there's a lot of pressure. Like if I say something,
Margaret
people just it's
criticizes.
recorded forever. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just scary. I don't know. There's just so much pressure. I'm like a very anxiety driven person, which people might not think, and I'm kind of even though I can speak fairly well, I think, I hope, through a lot of training, I'm actually a pretty shy person. So I feel like there's just a lot of anxiety and stress that comes with that.
Okay.
But I love gaming.
That's good.
I you know, I think that even before I was working in the industry, I didn't think it was like a possibility, right?
Yeah.
I went to school for like healthcare administration and music theory.
Oh,
Like it was
wow.
not, I never thought like this is where I could be.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Interesting. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so we have another question from the community. This question is going to be from Cyborgs. Their question is, do you take into consideration the fact that feedback and communication about the game is coming from players of a certain background, people who are willing to grind hard, people who have big patience and can embrace the suck in a playtest, and that we might be creating an echo chamber of a sort and not representing a big amount of players? If so, what plans do you have, or what are you currently doing to gather feedback from outside the playtest to balance it? Like taking into account, I guess, the hardcore players versus, people on the outside or maybe casuals, I guess.
Yeah, I kind of talked about that earlier on about the MMO segment of users and like how they are generally perceived, right? Not even just perceived, like how you behave, I think
Yeah.
is the best way to put it. It's like your behavioral analysis, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we absolutely take that into consideration. The players who show up for early testing are often the most dedicated, experienced, feedback driven people in our community, right? Which is incredibly valuable for us. But it can also create like a concentrated perspective. I think these players typically are more tolerant of bugs, more informed about systems, right? Like you know what the long-term vision of those systems
Yeah.
are. We love that you guys educated like the new people too on this, and more willing to basically engage with complex mechanics, right? Which isn't always reflective of kind of the broader, more casual audiences. We're well aware of
Yeah.
that. But to help balance it out, when we're gathering feedback, we gather it through a variety of different channels, Discord, Reddit, forums, social media. We have some surveys that we send out to just general. It's you don't even know about these things, right? Support tickets, creator communities. We're watching you all. We do reports on those too.
You be in the comment
And
sections? You be looking at the comment sections?
oh yeah, we looking at the comment
Ooh.
sections, and we're seeing how your videos are perceived by those audiences, and that goes into the sentiment analysis, right? We have a few sentiment analysis ways that we go looking at like basically capturing like the broader trends. We also analyze behavioral data during testing, not just what people say, but like what you're actually doing. So, it gives us kind of insight into like the friction points when we're looking at heat maps of various different features,
Mm.
and player behavior beyond just like the vocal minority or majority. So we have like, the loud people who will talk about the things,
Yeah.
but then it's like, okay, are these people like actually playing, and also are those folks actually like experiencing this when we're looking at like what's happening in game, right?
Yeah.
And as we move closer to launch, we're going to continue to expand our feedback loops. I think that we've been pretty broad and big about that. Like if we post like dev discussions, we're asking for feedback. Like we are constantly grabbing feedback. My team is constantly making reports, at least like 3 or 4 a week. We do daily reports, we do weekly reports, and then we do a bunch of like specific system oriented ones or
Yeah.
dev discussion oriented ones that are specific system oriented or feature oriented. Like we are constantly um, grabbing that data and providing that information, specifically whatever the development team needs, right? If they don't need something, then we're not going to like just make a report over nothing.
Okay.
But we do daily reports and weekly reports that allow us to look at like, here is just generally what the audience is talking about on a daily basis that is not specific to like what we're asking for feedback on, right? Like we are watching what you're doing and what you're talking about and reporting on that. And as we move closer, we're going to continue to expand our feedback loops to ensure more presentable samples of different player types and play styles are provided to the dev team. But yeah, we want all kinds of feedback from all kinds of players, even the players who aren't in the testing yet. We want it all. So if you have thoughts, share them with us. From what you see versus what you hear. And when we create these reports, we're always being sure to like provide the development team with an understanding of like where that feedback comes from and like
Gotcha.
the pool of people that's coming from, or because sometimes it'll be like, hey, there's only 36 people who responded to this dev discussion, right? Or so you need to take it with a grain of salt, right?
Yeah.
Like you
Yeah.
need to be
Yeah.
understanding like where this comes from. It's just like any of us, right? If we're doing a survey on, we're reading, research on how healthy are tomatoes for you, right? Like there's going to be tons of research. Who is that research from? Like
Yeah.
who's paying for that research, right? Like where did it come from? Like who are
Mm.
the people that are research? Oh, there's only 10 people, but this one has like 3,000 people that were the focus group, right? Like, so it's just having an understanding of like how the test was done and what was done and who was involved, and like ensuring that that feedback comes from like a perspective of, I always tell my team, like, we need to never be emotional about how we're reporting. It is always like, this is the most to least talked about,
Yeah.
and these are the topics that are talked about. Like, we are not putting our perspective into it. We're not portraying emotion into it. We are just like, this is what's being said and what's being talked about.
Just raw data.
Yeah, just raw data. Raw data, but like in a way that is consumable, right? Well, like I want developers to be able to like go, okay, I don't have to read 3,000 messages, or sometimes it can be like 10,000 messages from players, right?
Yeah.
I want my team to be the ones spending that time doing that and then creating a report that they can read in like 1 to 3 minutes, right? Depending on like the extensiveness of that report.
Okay. And this next question, we kind of touched on it already, but what do you feel are the pros and cons, if any, with open development? Yeah, like a short list for pros and cons, if any.
Yeah, yeah. Pros, I'll do like three, I guess,
Yeah.
or something like that. So pros, I would say, is trust, engagement, and community investment. Like, I don't think there's any other community investment like there is with open development. It is insane. Where I would say there's cons is everything you say and show is like permanently on the record in people's minds, right? Like they see it there, they've seen it,
Yeah.
like they heard you say it. It's just unfortunately in open development, like plans change, designs evolve, and sometimes that nuance gets really lost. And I think that that is like a huge con, right?
Yeah.
But open development, I think, forces us to stay player focused, and I think it's very important. We just have to ensure that like we're setting expectations properly, and then communicating that context of like what and why, which we talked about
Yeah.
previously.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. Um, And kind of on the subject of open development, Intrepid having an open development makes it no stranger to feedback or criticism. However, how critical would you allow creators of a content creator program to be? Obviously, there's a limit, but I recently saw someone leave a content creator program because their audience felt there were shills or not being genuine. Like, oh, you're only saying that because you're in the creator program or whatever. And anytime you give a compliment, it's because you're chill, or if you're negative, you're not negative enough because you're in the program and stuff like that. Because they were under the impression that that creator wasn't allowed to be critical. So, how do you go about like managing that expectations? I'm sure that comes with the content creator program being established and communicating that, but you know, knowing the limits, I guess.
Yeah, I think I can't stop people from calling you a shill, right? Like I can't change the perspective of a person who's viewing your content, right? So that I can't control. That's like not a controllable. But constructive criticism is absolutely allowed, and I 100% expect it. And I think Stephen and I and various other folks on our team have constantly said that we want criticism. We're That's why we're asking for feedback.
Yeah.
Like we want your feedback. We want to have an understanding of like what you think. So we welcome creators who offer thoughtful perspectives, even if they disagree with what we're doing. I think the line is really about intent and tone.
Yes.
We don't support targeted harassment, misinformation, toxicity, but you can 100% say like this, you can 100% say something like this system feels clunky and needs improvement, or like go into detail about that. Like I think you would still be 100% supported from us, like from a content creator like program. So
Okay, so I'm gonna give you an example. Margaret ruined the cleric. I hate her. Here's her address. I'm playing. No, no, too
that
far.
we
Too
probably
far.
would not want on our program.
Oh,
That is
okay.
like targeted, right? Like that's targeted harassment.
I
Like
just
that
wanted to
is
see where the line
give
was. No, I'm
doxing
playing.
also. Like that's just legal problems right there that you're dealing with. But yeah.
Okay. So let's see. We have another question from the community. This one is from Immortality V. How does it feel when Steven leaks and he's not supposed to? And how many times has Steven not read the run of show?
Can't count. I'm pretty sure Stephen, leaks a thing is its own like square on our
Yeah.
internal bingo card. But it happens. But honestly, his excitement is part of the charm and why I think Intrepid works, right? Like Intrepid Studio works because of that. And yes, sometimes he'll like jump around on the run of show, but that I think that spontaneity is exactly why our live streams feel really
Yeah.
authentic.
Yeah.
And that's why, we built that flexibility into that format on purpose. And I just communicate with him, right? Like even if it's live, you see how we
Yeah.
interact, right? And Stephen and I are, we've I feel like we've grown close as like friends outside of just work. So I think people see that relationship on the stream, like the chemistry that we have as far as like friends go. And hopefully that's just another element of fun that you get to experience on the stream. I
Nice.
know, I don't know.
Yeah. Definitely.
I don't I don't I don't see it as necessarily a problem from my perspective. Obviously I put a lot of effort into the work that I do to try to, organize things to
Like
make
there's
it
a whole section for
consumable.
that, Steven.
Well, I think sometimes the problem is when you jump around that like it's not as clear. Like you come away with it with like a little confused about what a system is or whatever that might be. So I think when I try to put these runner shows together, I try to make things like as like to explain them in the most clear way
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
possible because sometimes we do have really complex systems. But like I said, I don't see that as like a problem. I think it just goes into like the authenticity of like how we do things
Yeah.
and it's fun for people.
Yeah. Like I think that, yeah, I think you're right. The audience appreciates that more loose, homey feeling, I guess. So I like that.
I keep things like straight, and then he'll just bring us all over the place, and I think that dynamic works really well.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I personally always tell him, I welcome it, but I will just speak up if I'm like, hey, we're gonna talk about that in like major depth in like the next area, just so that he doesn't like go into super depth there. And often, sometimes he does, and I'm like, oh well, that worked really well. So then I don't say anything. So there are times he doesn't follow the run of show that you don't even know.
Mm, okay.
The only time I really speak up is when I think it's getting confusing for people sometimes, and I try to just make it flow.
I
Get
feel that.
the flow.
All right. How do you feel Ashes of Creation will be marketed closer towards launch, and how do you feel social media has changed how marketing/communication can be done these days?
You snuck two in there. That's not one question.
That's what I do. You notice by now.
um, as we get closer to launch, our marketing strategy will scale, I think, both in kind of scope and sophistication. But the heart of it, I think, is going to stay the same. I would love us to stay with like that authenticity that I talked about. I would love us to keep that vibe. Community first messaging, I don't think that's going to change. And delivering like real value in every touch point. I think that's where we are still, working towards that. But I think that'll become easier as we're, closer to launch. Obviously, right now we're developing, right? So stuff's shifting and changing all the time.
Okay.
You'll see broader global campaigns across like digital things, social, video, creator platforms, alongside expanded media coverage, press coverage, creator programs. Obviously, we talked a bit about that, and event activations, both virtually and in person. I think those are my favorite. I
Yeah.
love a good event, and anybody who knows me knows I love hosting. And if there's a theme, I'm in it. So we're gonna have a lot of fun. We have some really cool stuff planned.
Nice.
We'll also be investing heavily in educational content and onboarding tools because I feel like MMOs can be really complex
Oh
and we
yeah.
want people to feel excited but not overwhelmed when they join. There's going to be a lot of cool web stuff that you're seeing. We're working on some really neat stuff on the back end. Um, our goal isn't just to generate hype, but to sustain that momentum, right? Through clear, consistent storytelling, what Ashes of Creation is, why it's different, and what kind of like experience players can expect like long term. Um, we're going to leverage life cycle based campaigns that like speak to different types of audiences, like player archetypes, PvPers, role players, crafters, explorers. So you'll see campaigns that are specifically around those, or even like community driven things that we like. If we see the community gravitating towards stuff,
Yeah.
we're gonna like work towards that to help retain that community and also like give you guys things, right? So the messaging is really, we want the messaging to be really relevant and personalized to those folks. Um, and of course, we're going to continue using in-game footage, dev insights. You won't see like those things change, and like the world bringing that we bring to Vera before we launch. I think like you're still going to continue to see that as we move forward. On to your second question. Social media has fundamentally reshaped marketing and communications like massively. I don't know what generation everyone is that's watching this or where you are, Nice. And some people don't like talking about age, but I am from a time before the internet existed. So I got to experience, seeing I always say this. We have Star Trek devices in our hands. Like,
Yeah.
what is this? This is madness. I just think it's like wild how accessible information is
Yeah.
now. It's just such a different time. And, from having no internet to dial up to where we are now, where it's like in the pocket of your hand, wild. And yeah, just it's insane. So it's no longer a one-way channel, right?
Yeah.
It's a live conversation. It gives us direct access to feedback, to sentiment, to trend signals in like real time, which allows us to adapt and engage like in a much more meaningful way.
Hmm.
It's also enabled us to turn our devs into like storytellers, right? And community into amplifiers and our game updates into like global moments. That reach is massive. Like it is just so insane to me. It's insane to me that I can be talking to you
Yeah.
and now someone from Timbuktu is watching this. Like it's
Yeah.
wild to me.
Yes.
But with that, I think there is also a responsibility, right? Because players expect transparency, accountability, and consistency. They want all these things from us now. And I mean, they probably always have wanted those things, but now it's very like they can be vocal about those things in a
Hmm.
much more like broadcasted and amplified way. And we're building strategies around that. So, yeah, it's just so different. Sorry, I feel like I talked a lot there.
No, that's kind of what I was expecting. Like, curious on what your thoughts were with how social media changed it. Like, it used to be like probably when we were growing up, like commercial, maybe advertise your game in a gaming magazine and then
Commercials. Oh my gosh, it's crazy to me how much I've worked at companies where we've spent millions of dollars on commercials. Nuts.
that's crazy. Now
Yeah.
it's just like you can just have a streamer play your game or make a tweet or something blows up on YouTube and yeah,
Yeah.
very different.
Very.
I promise
It's
you
a little scary.
I didn't plan this follow-up question, but since we're talking
Oh,
about
okay.
videos and trailers, marketing, whatever, when is Steven going to give us Nodes 3? Especially now that y'all took, you kind of got a lot of progress in the nodes. We got rid of stage 6.
I don't think we're gonna do Nodes 3. Let's just go there. No Nodes 3. But I do think that we will continue to, share information on nodes and other features and systems as we move forward. You'll continue to see that. I think those of you who have been with us on like the long haul, you've probably seen that more recently we've been doing some very targeted videos. And I know we've been getting a lot of like great feedback on those ones. So the best way is if you want more content like that, watch it. Because when we go looking at our YouTube channel and we're like, hey, we did this, highly edited video. What's the viewership on that? And, if I'm telling Steven, I think we should make more of this, and it doesn't have as much viewership as like a 3-hour long live stream, right?
Yeah.
For something that's like 5 minutes, which, should be a pretty easy watch if all of you guys go click and watch it. Then it doesn't make sense, right? So I think that it also makes sense for us to put effort into the spaces and places and mediums that our community are watching and listening and consuming. So if you want something, you need to consume that thing, right? You need to put your money where your mouth is, type of thing is what is best said, right? Yes. If you don't like something, don't do that thing, because then it's going to show that your behavior is that you do like it because you keep doing it, right?
All right, you guys heard Margaret. Make sure you guys watch that recent Tropics video. I like that, the Rogue one. And if you want Nodes 3, go watch the Nodes 1 and Nodes 2 again, and she'll have to do that one too. She said it. That's the logic.
No, I mean, it is the logic. I think the more we see people consume certain types of content, the easier it's going to be for us to be like, oh, we should do more of that, right?
Nice.
Especially if you're leaving comments and saying, I love this type of thing and please make more of it, right? Or I like this format. And, we've changed up our format on our live stream a bunch, from like what it was before I joined to after to like post-COVID times. Things have changed. Yeah. And, it's very different.
Okay. Let's go to the next question. How important do you feel it is for a development team working on an MMO to actually play their own game? Or to just
don't come at me, but I this is my opinion. I think it is vital. I think if you don't understand the player experience firsthand, like from your own experience and perspective, I personally don't think you can design and communicate as effectively. I think you can, right? I think you can design something, you can communicate things, but if you don't really understand the product, or I mean, I've worked with a bunch of people where like a community manager does not know how to like open up a menu, and I'm just like, what is happening, right? So like, I think that for me, it's important. I think it is directly important. And for anybody who knows me personally knows how invested I am in anything that I work in. I don't just give it like a, half. I'm like, I'm 100% in or I'm not in. Like that's the type of person I'm in. Whether it's a pain point in the UI or a pacing of content loops, I think actually playing the game is what's going to keep you grounded as like a designer or communications, person. That's why, like, at least our internal teams, we do internal play tests. We talk constantly about the game, about what we're creating, what the long-term intent is on things. I think being educated on the product you work on is so important. I think if the first week I worked here at Intrepid, which was a very long time ago, I did an AMA and everyone was like shocked at how much I knew about the product. And I was like, yeah, I consumed the entire wiki. Like I just grabbed onto everything I could. I played whatever was available to me. And I looked at everything that was available out there. I came to Steven day one with like a communications plan. I was like, here are the things that I want to change with your Discord, with your forums, with this. Wow. And I'm sure you guys saw, we made drastic changes. with how our moderation works, how our rules work, how things work. And I know that there's a lot of contention there too. But I think that there's also a lot of organization that has come, and hopefully people have seen that. But there are some uncontrollables, and I've talked about that a bit earlier in this interview. And, we are working and navigating around those.
Lovely.
I think I went a weird way with that question,
No,
but
no, I think hearing your answer to that is gonna give a lot of people confidence, and I completely agree. I think it lets you have a sense of I'll call it community empathy. Like when they're complaining about an annoying bug,
I feel it
you
too.
get it. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh no, we get it.
Oh my
That's
gosh,
annoying.
there's been so many times where we have a which is like our product owners and leadership team meeting that we do like once a day. And sometimes I'll put stuff on that board and like everyone's like, Maggie, that is not high priority. I'm like, it's high priority because I deal with this every day in game. Like the guild stuff. I
Yeah.
was so frustrated with some of like the guild management things. And like for a while we didn't have some of those features in. And so I was just like really, sharing my frustration about those things. And I think like obviously we have to prioritize stuff, right? And I think that is the big thing is like you might see that you've been reporting the same bug for 3 years now or whatever. And you have to understand that there are that's not the only bug. There are like thousands of bugs and features and systems, and there's not that many developers, right? So like we have to figure out where that lands on like the severity level, frequency level, what is the priority for that versus like when you weigh it up against something else, like would you want that bug fixed or would you like this feature, right? Like so there are so many pieces and navigation elements to that, and it's hard to communicate that to someone who's just like experiencing something that sucks.
Yeah, it's like there's levels to it. Like down here, it's a high priority, but you got dynamic gridding. But everyone knows what the main priority probably is fixing Tank's grapple pull to work more consistently. This is I collected the data and it Tank grapple, dynamic gridding. Now playing. All right.
But from our end, a developer's perspective versus like a tester/player perspective is so different, right? And I think that there is an element where sometimes we have to make the decision that makes sense for us as a development company versus what we understand is also the player sentiment and concern. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, what are the opinions towards the influence of large streamers on a launch and the impact that their volatile opinions may have? We saw some of this earlier in earlier alpha phases. Someone perhaps not knowing what a node is, run into bugs, or they get PK'd at a frequency that doesn't actually, show what an actual Ashes of Creation experience is. Some bad clip out of context goes around, and
that is an actual experience, right? Like I think that even if someone who's uneducated experiences something, that is their experience. That's the experience that they had, right? I can't change someone's skill level. They're going to get PK'd or killed if they're not skilled. Like I can't save them from that, right? I can't educate someone if they're not willing to like go look at how a system is intended to work or read the tooltips or read their abilities, right? Like I can't do that. I can only control the controllables that I can control. Like we as developers can only control what we control. We can try to guide those things as best we can. We can create tooltips. We can create, FATUIs, which is like first time user experience pop-ups, those type of things. So like we will try to educate people as best we can. And then on the community side, we'll write articles. Players will make guides. Like there's all types of that stuff, but we can't force somebody to learn, right? So I think there will be people who experience uneducated viewing experiences. You're going to watch somebody who's a noob, and I can't control that.
Skip all the dialogue and close all the windows, but like, what is going on? What do I do?
Outside of that, I do think creators have a huge reach. We talked about it earlier, right? And with that comes responsibility. One, I can't control. Like I said, I can't always control that. And a bug or misunderstanding can pretty much snowball. And, we're all aware. We've seen those things happen. It's a very real challenge. And I think large creators can absolutely shape perception. We've seen large creators make a game that would have never seen the day of light now become one of the most popular products, right? Sometimes it can be in a really powerful, positive way. Sure. And sometimes it doesn't really reflect the full picture of what is happening, right? So I think that from my end, what I can control is education, onboarding, or not just me, the
Yeah.
royal we as developers. This isn't just Intrepid. I think we as a gaming community, gaming um, production developers, I think we can educate, onboard, and have creator enablement being our key parts of our strategy as we, especially for us, as we move closer to launch. So for us, we will have programs like our creator program, which is going to be massive for us. And then we have also a secondary program, which I don't know if I've talked about a bunch, but it is called the Bardic College. And that's going to be for people who we don't think are necessarily people who should be part of our program, but like we're like, oh, they're so close to do that.
Yeah.
So we want to help train people. I think that the beauty of like the fact that I have been a creator before too, like outside of just developing, is that I understand that like sometimes you just don't realize like, oh, I should post on social every time I go live. I should have an image. I should have a hashtag. I should like all these little things that like people just aren't aware what branding is like. How do you create a brand for yourself, right? Like I think there's just so many things like that where I see somebody and I'm like, oh, they have the potential, right? And I think we can help them. So it's just such a different, unique experience that I want to provide to creators that I don't think other companies do. They just like, here's some keys, bye. And I don't think that not what I want to see. What I want to be is like, oh, your mic quality is bad. Let's get you a better mic. Oh, you want to be on camera, but you don't have a good camera? Let's find you a mic or a good camera, right? Oh, maybe that's even turns into a sponsorship for you from this other company, right? Like, I think there's so many cool things that we could do on like such a larger scale. Like, we're humans helping other humans, and I think sometimes that gets lost. I don't know why I'm feeling emotional. I feel like that sometimes get lost. Like people just think like, oh, you're a developer, you're a robot, go create something, go fix your game, stop being a shithead, right? Like I think like from my perspective, it's like, I'm working really hard. I'm trying to do all these things that you just don't see on a daily basis, right? So we don't expect every creator to know like fully what the game design is. We don't want to what we do want to do is equip them with the right information and support them as they go live with their content. So that includes understandable guides, personal outreach, curated media kits, things like that. We're also we are putting more focus on pairing major content beats with clear context so that messaging doesn't get lost or warped or whatever in the noise of like other things, to ensure that players and creators alike, so for everybody, has the best tools to help like tell the story accurately. We know that not every creator is like a content creator. Some people are fan sites, or they're running a guild or whatever that may be. So I think that those tools should be available to every player, not just to a curated focus group of people. And then outside of that, we'll also just be paying attention to like what folks are creating. We're already doing that. I talked about it earlier in some of our reporting, and we're just very involved in our community. I don't think I have not seen other companies that are as involved as us. Like you can go to any of our social platforms and you are getting a response from us. Like you go to our social media channels, you get a response from us. You go to our ticket system, we're churning through those tickets very quickly. There was a little time where we fell back because of the holiday week. But we cleaned that up. We're back now. And we're hiring on another staff member who's working. He's just finished his onboarding, so he'll be switching to the weekend. So we'll have 7 day support for customer support. So like there are things that we are taking actions. We see that your feedback, but I also look at the ticket queue and I'm like, there's 70 tickets, right? Like or whatever it may be. Like we're churning through those things quickly. So a lot of our ticket time is like 18 hours for response time. That's insane. I think other companies I've worked for, it's like 72 plus hours before you get a response from somebody. That's wild. So I think that we are above industry standard with a much, much smaller team, but we also have a smaller user base right now, right? So I think like there is a give and take there. I just we're very involved with our community, whether you're a creator or non-creator. You're going to find that you both get ample attention, and at the end of the day, we are always welcoming feedback. We're always, whether it's critical or not, and we're just going to continue to make adjustments and changes and keep people as informed and, ensure that they're not misrepresenting things because of the way that we're communicating them, right? It's because they didn't take the time and effort to read something or to look at something. Like I can't control that part of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Sorry, I got a little emotional. I think I went on a tangent. I apologize.
You say emotional. I felt that was passionate. That showed that you cared. Because no, you're right. As someone that has played multiple games, done content for multiple games, and just seeing from the outside, even as a viewer, and seeing how content creators handle things, like it usually is. Here's some keys based on how many subs you have. Go have fun or pretend you're having
And that'll
fun.
still be a thing, right? We're still going to still give keys and things like that, and fun things for you to have for your viewers. Yeah, and it'll be based on like your following, but I think like that's not where it ends for us.
Yes.
I and Adam's in this call too because he's monitoring, he monitors all of the stuff that we do, but on the creator side of things. But I think that from my end, I've always made it very clear to him that like I want it to be an experience that feels human, right? I want it to be like an interaction and not just be like throwing things into the ether. But we also have to find scalability in that, and I think that there are ways that we can be scalable, and there's other times where we'll be more one-on-one.
Okay. Next question. With how well certain data mining websites like let's say Ashes Codex or any other site that has information that you guys probably aren't wanting the community to be privy to, how does like data mining affect like marketing, communication, or reveals that you had planned, and what's your stance on data mining in the future?
Yeah. We love community run resources, right? But data mining is tricky. It can spoil reveals, like you said, mislead players about unfinished or deprecated content. And then it can also just throw off like narrative pacing because of, now people have information that they wouldn't have before, right? Like it's just not great. Our stance long term is we're going to work to protect sensitive data, and it hopefully will be less possible to get that information surfaced. Like we don't want it to be surfaced, and we're going to put in gateways to make it not surfaceable. And if you're getting it, then you're getting it in a way that you shouldn't be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And with that in mind, we'll provide avenues for folks to see data we want surfaced. We do have some really cool stuff that's working on the back end of our website that I think people are going to be really excited, like being able to see your characters on the website and that kind of stuff. We would love to long term have you be able to communicate with your guild mates and things like that. There's so many things that we like, features that I think we did a dev discussion previously on like what we would love, like what you guys want to see, and a lot of it was on our list already. So we're like, cool, we're on the same page, we got it. And now it's just getting those things to come to fruition, and they're getting. I've seen some cool stuff. So it's being able to like log into a website and see like the map of your realm and see what the status of things are, right? Like it's such a cool thing, but there's balances in it, right? That we don't want to break what gameplay is expected to provide, right? So there's a balance between web and dev, web and in-game, the game client that need to be worked out. But yeah, the things that we want surfaced, we'll make surfaced, and like the things that we don't, we're not going to. And we have some really cool things in the works that I think people will be excited about. We'll also keep engaging with fan sites and creators to provide like accurate information through the right channels. But I think long term, we don't want people to have access to certain things that they've had access to right now. But that's not our focus, right? Like our focus right now is not locking down everything. Our focus is like creating the game and working towards that. But you will start seeing those things be harder for those sites to access. And we don't plan on having, like we've talked about this previously, we don't want people to have, API access to things. Like we want to do those things on our end. So if there's something that you want, reaching out to us, and maybe we'll work with some of those folks who want to create those sites and stuff like that can be part of something bigger, right?
Yeah.
So
I remember you a while ago. I think it was actually one of my questions that got selected. It was about you, I think long term wanting to do like a mobile app maybe in the future too.
Long term, I think that would be cool. It might not be something at launch. Right now, like a lot of the stuff that we're working on will be website focused. But we have talked about a companion application that you could use.
That's cool.
And I've worked on one before. PlanetSide 2, we had one, and it was pretty cool. I think for me too, there are things that would be handy to be able to have access to when you're, on vacation or whatever it might be, where you're like, oh, I can't raid tonight, but I want to like see how my guildies are doing, or like I need to having calendar invites for your teams. Obviously, people will use other sites and things like that, or their own websites. That's up to them. But we're going to try to make it a cool experience that you can like use and want to use. And we hope that you give us feedback on like making it more usable for you, right? Like if we had a place where on our website you could put your guild up and recruit, right? With how cool would that be? And having all the information there, and then people can put applications through that, and then it shows up on your dashboard. Like there's just so much stuff like that that I think like as we as gamers have wanted, and now we are in the place where we get to help create those things. But it's just priority list, like we said before. There's other things right now. The focus right now is creating the game, but the web team is working on some really cool stuff like that. So you're going to see some web changes. You've probably already seen some web changes over the time, and there's going to be even more as we move forward.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You've done a lot of content creation yourself, as you've mentioned, and you're a part of Roll For It. Can you discuss what that is for those who may not be aware?
Yeah, it's nice little personal plug. I've been streaming and podcasting and hosting since Voyages of Vanguard days. That's kind of like where I started in the industry, which is really interesting.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in college doing a podcast, and I only joined that podcast because someone was like, "Hey, you're the Blood Mage class lead. Would you want to like come co-host with me? People keep saying that you'd be like a good person, like you're really knowledgeable." And I was like, "Sure, I'll try it." Not if you go back and listen, it was so bad. I like giggled a lot. I don't know. I nervous laugh. Like when I'm nervous, I just like laugh apparently. And it's just cringy looking back at like how I did. I mean, it's cringy listening to anything I say. So I think for me, even now, I'm like, it's never good enough.
Wow.
But looking back, you're always like, oh, that was bad. But I really enjoyed that. And basically, we got sent out to SOE Live and like fully paid for, sponsored, which was really cool. And while I was there, the developers were like, "You're the way that you talk on your live stream or on that podcast," because we had a lot of people who would watch the podcast who didn't even play Vanguard. They're just like, "We just love the way that you guys like talk about games," because we would just talk about a system in Vanguard, but like in such like a more design oriented discussion, right? And I was like the pro. I do not see myself as pro, but I was the pro because I had like won a bunch of tournaments and stuff like that. And then my co-host was like the noob. So like we had like the two perspectives, which was I think a cool dynamic.
Yeah.
And they were basically like, "I think you'd make a good game designer. Have you ever thought about being a game designer?" And I was like, every kid wants to be a game designer. Like, what kind of question is that? I just didn't think. I was like, I just didn't think it would be something that would be possible. And they're like, "Yeah, we're going to have some like QA positions open up. You should apply." And then we're going to have some apprenticeships, and we usually do those internally. And I was like, okay. And so that's how I got into the industry. Like, that's legit the story of what happened. So it's been pretty amazing. But from there, I helped launch Friday Night Ops, which is like a big show at SOE. And I did a bunch of other stuff. I've built live streams and video teams at multiple studios, which has been really cool to see. And esports stuff, I've gotten to be really involved in that, which was fun. But for Roll For It, that is like my tabletop RPG passion project. We run cinematic actual play campaigns with like a focus on like storytelling and production value, and like we get dressed up. We're just a bunch of nerds, and I think like we just love telling stories and just really getting into character. It's almost like improv acting for us.
Wow.
And it's been a really incredible space to see grow. I mean, I was part of that early on before even Roll For It Times, with a few other creators on their channels, and it's been really amazing to just see that space grow. And just become what it has been. I won't name all the folks who have been part of that, but me and my co-partner, we've kind of taken a little bit of a break because of personal life. I had a baby, if you didn't know. And yeah, so I created a character. There you go. I'm still in shock that like a human was created. Like what? And he's got his own personality, and got body parts. It's just crazy to me, like that happens. Oh my gosh. But pregnancy aside, but yeah, like so we'll come back with that once that both of our lives are a little bit more stable. But right now, a little bit on a hiatus from that. But I still play weekly over on some other channels, so that's been fun.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, our last question is a question from the community. This one comes from Nyce Romancer or Nyce Romancer. You best be pressuring her about the tank rename. So I'm going to put this a little bit more professionally. We know Steven is stubborn about the tank archetype name, and I'm sure you guys are tired of hearing this over the years, but a lot have expressed dislike of it or feel it's immersion breaking. It'll be like calling the cleric archetype healer. I saw your community team recently do a poll where you guys changed Metropolis, which we have been attached to for the longest. The last stage of the node being a Metropolis is now a city, and looks like you guys took like the data from polls on Twitter, YouTube, Discord,
Every
and
social platform,
every platform. And so
forums and Discord too. Yeah,
the community voted, and you guys have actually changed that to cities now, right? To in game. Would you guys be willing to do one for tank? Maybe just put, you can keep tank on the, have the options tank, guardian, whatever. Could we look forward to seeing that poll or other polls like that in the future actually have an impact?
I mean, I brought this up on the live stream too. We hear the feedback, right? Like we did with the node level rename to city. We'll continue polling and evaluating sentiment with the team where it makes sense for us. But obviously, design, which obviously includes Steven, gets the final say. So right now, they are pretty much sticking with tank. On that front, though, please provide your feedback. Everything's subject to change. Even post-launch, things can change. So if you have strong thoughts on that, make sure that you're sharing them and getting other people involved to share that sentiment with you. But for now, tank will be tank. But that's not to say that it won't always be that. Yeah.
And so for those of you watching, if you check the link in the description below, I have a change.org petition. We're at 800 signatures. We need your help. We are going to get this done. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's too funny. Yeah, I don't know. Everyone has like their thoughts on like what they would do and what they would want to name things.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you create your own game, you can name those classes and archetypes whatever you'd like.
I'm gonna pull Steven and just make my own MMO. I'm just gonna do that.
There you go. And I'm gonna let you know. It is no easy feat, as everyone has found. It is not an easy feat to create. I mean, it depends on the type of game you're creating and like the depth that you want, but this is a very ambitious project with lots of features and systems. And, we're going to continue to update and change things and move things around. And you're going to see what, the original intent versus what it ends up being. Obviously, I think the sentiment will be there, but it might not be exactly what someone said in like, a bajillion years ago. So, just be open-minded.
Fine. All right, so that was the last question, but before we conclude here, I had some rapid fire questions similar to what we did with the Steven interview, just a little fun game to close things out. So these you obviously didn't get to see. These are rapid fire questions. You gotta answer quick. Let's say just quickly, probably under 5 seconds. Depending on the question.
Seconds.
Okay, depending on the question.
He's gonna be like timing you. No, just
some
kidding.
of them's gonna be a little bit more rapid, or some of them probably will need like a longer answer, of course. But you're supposed to just rapid fire. So, and I went pretty light on you, I feel. So.
Okay.
All right. Here we go. Favorite race in Ashes of Creation.
Man, why do people always have to ask that? I like a bunch of them. I'll say Pyre for now.
Okay. The party wipes.
I like the branchlers. They're cool.
The branchlers, yes.
Yeah.
If the party
love
wipes,
a good branchler.
If the party wipes, whose fault is it most likely? The tank, healer, bard, or DPS?
Why is bard separated? I think it depends on the context, but we'll say DPS. You didn't kill it fast enough.
There you go. Okay. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No. Ugh.
Yes. All right. Talnar in Alpha 2 before the end of 2025?
Probably not.
Okay. Intrepid at a gaming expo like PAX or something similar in 2026?
Maybe.
Vegas launch party. You have to take a shot. What are you drinking?
Ooh, orange juice. No, I'm just kidding. You didn't say it had to be alcohol.
All right.
Honestly, it is a trick. Sometimes if like people want me to drink at an event, I will ask the bartender just to give me like cranberry juice or apple juice or pineapple juice or whatever like they have there for drinks. And people are none the wiser. They think I'm drinking, but I'm not.
Uh,
Mad tip. Because people will want you like if you're not having a drink in your hand, I feel like there's this pressure to drink.
True.
But I'm not a big drinker, and I
Okay.
also would like to keep my sanity.
True. True. All right. Steven lets you take over Intrepid for one day. You get to adjust two things. What are they?
Two things like with the game
It could be with
design
the
or what?
game. It could be with like work life, things around the studio. You get
Oh,
the
I don't
power of
know.
two things.
That's too much power. I don't
Too much
know.
power.
Too much power. Too much power. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
that's a
can't
tough
answer
one to
that. I
think
don't
of
know.
on the spot.
I
Okay.
think that's a hard one. There's a lot of things I think that we could change, but I think it depends on like if it's like business versus game. I'll stick with game because
Yeah, let's
I
do
think
game.
that'll
That
be
one's
less,
easier. Yeah.
yeah, less involved. Um, ooh, I now I'm not really sure. I really like what we're creating. I think that for me, um, I don't know. Actually, I don't feel like I can answer this fully because
Yeah.
primarily because we're not done yet. I
Yeah.
think is where it's
True.
at, right?
True.
I feel like the things that I want to change, I'm like, those are things that are coming down the line anyway.
Okay. Okay.
But maybe I guess having like a little bit of focus on like a battlefield, like a battle arena type of thing would be nice,
Mm.
and some camera action for that because I feel like the community keeps wanting to host these events, and I feel like that is the biggest thing that the community requests or
Yeah.
not even requests, but like does themselves is like try to create PvP tournaments. And I
Yeah.
think like if we had an avenue in which you could do that more easily with like
Like a spectator
cameras,
camera is
yeah,
allowed in a
spectator
certain
camera
area.
and like a space that you could go to like do these things. That was like a system. Maybe that's what I would do. Those two things. Does
Okay,
that work?
that
Oh, why
works.
was
That
this so
works. We'll say
sorry, it took me a
oh
while.
no, it's
There's a
fine.
lot of
No,
pressure.
and that's the point of it, just to be random pressure. So your answer was add arenas. Let's just say add arenas because they're going to come at some point. Add arenas faster, and then
Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was like, what I want to do is not something that's not happening.
yeah,
It's just it's further down the line. Yeah.
instance dueling arenas that allow for a spectator cam.
It doesn't even have to be dual. Like it would be cool to have something where it's like you can select what type of, PvP situation you want to be in.
Yeah,
Like if it's like group versus group, one versus one, 2v2, whatever it might be, and maybe like shows up in like priority of like whoever signs up first,
yeah,
right? And then you have to show up for your tournament. Otherwise, like the other team just wins by default if someone doesn't show or something like that.
that would be
And then
really cool.
it would be cool to have like stadiums where people can go watch and just like
Yeah,
see
like
it and like
Roman
sit down.
Coliseum vibes.
Yeah, like a Coliseum vibe. And then just like you could go into a spectator cam mode where like you only get to fly around in that one like space, but like players don't know you're in there and
We got
anybody
to
can do
pitch that
that.
to
It'd be
Steven.
cool.
One of the building types available to the military nodes is Coliseum, and you can just sit in there, have a spectator camera. Yeah,
I could design a whole system with that. I think it'd be fun. I would love that.
that'd be pretty cool. Okay, next one. You have to dress up as an Ashes of Creation character or race at the next big California Comic Con. What do you come as?
Ooh.
Like it could be an NPC or a certain creature that you like out in the world, like the goblins or literally anything. But you have to. Steven says, "Hey, go to Comic Con. You can dress up as any one of the things. We'll get you. We'll pay for everything."
I would want to dress up as an ancient. How sick would that
Oh
be?
wow, yes, that'd be pretty sick. Okay, okay, I like that answer. Here's a fun one.
Or Lyria Lamont. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but she would be pretty cool.
Is
She
she the
her
one in
her like
Parfin?
vibe, yeah. Her
Okay,
vibe is cool. And then her story is really neat, like how she got to where she is.
nice.
Hopefully you'll learn more about it, or if you're reading the quest, maybe you already do know. But
Or hear me out and
yeah,
tell me
she's
right
pretty sick.
now. Just give us the exclusive
I
right now.
would
And I'm playing.
I would do like I would do half my like body one way and half the other, like before she got corrupted, and then how after being corrupted.
Oh, that would.
Like that's what I would do for the cosplay.
That sounds
It'd be
sick.
sick.
That
All right,
sounds sick.
sorry. I was like,
Okay.
wait, I got another idea.
See, you're already
Cosplay,
got a
I could
vision.
just cosplay all day. I think if I get time to cosplay at events, I will 100% do that. People who know me, I'm like into it.
We can convince Steven to pay for it too. That's free marketing. That's amazing.
There you
All
go.
right, all right. The amount of DMs or mentions you get daily from the community.
Probably around 3,000 or 3,000, I would say. It's pretty insane.
Wow.
I try my best to respond to people, but whenever I complete my inbox, I always post in the community or the game, like our game services channel. I'm like, I finally went through it. I got through it all. I'm all caught up. So I definitely try my best to respond to everyone. If you've messaged me, unless it's something inappropriate, then I don't respond to you because that's not like the behavior that I want.
Yeah.
I don't want to reward that type of behavior, I think is
Yeah.
the best way to put it. I have gotten some pretty rude stuff, but yeah, I try to respond as best I can to people. There's this one person in particular who will send me an email and through like my website and message me on every social platform, every single live stream and tell me to shut up. They're like, shut up. We're here for Steven. I shared with Steven like their messages.
No.
Steven's like, what the heck? I was like, yeah, this person's like obsessed with you, Steven. And they like really want only you to talk and for me to shut up. But I don't think they realize my job.
Margaret spoke and took away from my Steven time. Oh, yeah. What the hell? That is weird. Okay.
I try not to interrupt Steven, but sometimes I do. And I think like that aggravates people.
that's a little too much. Not that serious.
I think that people don't realize that side of things is like we're humans, right? Yeah. That's what I was saying before. That was making me emotional. I was like, I'm just a person, just like you. Yeah. Steven's just a person. We're just people, doing our passion and working as much as we can to do that while also just living our lives. So
real.
Yeah.
Work in office or work remote?
I work remote and I really like it. I think it's been amazing for me to be able to like see my son. I was telling you earlier, I was like my mom, because my mom lives with me now to help out with the kid. And being able to like breastfeed while also working. Like I just obviously I turn off my camera, but like being able to do that has been like such a cool experience to be so connected to my kid. So I think for me, like that is just so valuable. And hopefully people still feel like, hopefully my team and like the company feel like I'm adding value to the team. I work really hard too. But I do think there's value in office. I think there's a different vibe when you're brainstorming together as a team and like in person. There's like, I mean, obviously we're in an interview here right now, but like if I was sitting with you at like PAX, I mean, you were chatting.
Yeah.
I think maybe we would have cried. Maybe we would laugh harder, right? Like I think there's just like that emotion that you get when you're like next to somebody that you can like feel.
Yeah.
I think there's something there that you just don't get in a remote space. I think that morale is a little harder to manage, but if you do it well, like my team just did like a little team building thing yesterday that was so fun and we were all laughing and having a good time. I think it's important to make sure that as a leader, you're doing those type of things. If you're, communication, I think is important and like how you build your morale and build your team and ensure that work's being done. It's just harder in a remote place, but I think remote work is really just so valuable to a person's like day-to-day, like personal life being able to, So I think both, I like both for different reasons, but I do right now, I would say remote just because it allows me to spend more time with my family in a more easy format.
Nice. Yeah, I think remote's good, especially your situation, new kid and everything like that. It's really good. Okay. This next one's probably easy, but Planet Side or Call of Duty?
Planet Side. Oh, Planet Side all the way. I love Call of Duty. I've played a lot of Call of Duty. I think that the fast pacedness of Call of Duty has its beauties, and actually with Planet Side 2, you can kind of get that vibe. I think it leaned more towards that, but what I love about Planet Side's time to kill, like their TTK, is that you get time to react and like you have a dance. And it's like, it's not just about like, oh, I got the jump on you and now you're dead, headshot, right? Like it's like the skill in ensuring that you're continually keeping aim, that you're having this engagement with somebody, that you're, conning like the danger that you have against you. And when you pull off those 6v1s, it's just so epic. Like such an epic experience.
Yes.
I'm a huge FPS nerd. Like I love FPS games. Like I have always had like my main FPS or RPG like that I would play. I'd be like, all right, I'm going to show up at my raid nights, right? Like I get that vibe. And then the other times I'm like FPS is like because it's just PvP on such like a hardcore, fast-paced level
Yes.
that I just love about it. Yeah. And with PlanetSide, there's it's on like a much larger scale. I think maybe people who played Mag might get something similar to that because that was also pretty large scale. But there's just when you get on those large scale battlefields, it's just so much more intense. You don't just worry about like what's in front of you. You're like, what's over there, up there, down here, right? Like you just have to be more like aware of your surroundings, and I think that adds like another level of skill that I really like.
Okay.
Sorry, that was a long answer. I apologize.
Oh, no. World of Warcraft or EverQuest?
EverQuest.
No bias?
Yeah. I love EQ. I think like maybe it's a nostalgia thing. I played both, right? And I did a lot of WoW, and I had a lot of fun in WoW. Before 4.0.1, I think like that was the OG times that I think was really really awesome. But there's something about the way that EQ raids presented to me that just was so hardcore, and like the way that you have to you get to a dungeon and it like was impactful, like to stay there and get your farm and not die, and like if you did, like it's rough getting back in, right? And I just think that that element of skill is just something that I'm a huge fan of. And I know it's grindy, not everybody likes that type of gameplay, but I love that. I love like getting deep into a dungeon and then having to like own your space there and not lose it. I don't know.
Nice. All right. And last but not least, funniest coworker at Intrepid.
I'll say on my team, Mike Vecchio. He's our graphics designer. He's hilarious. He cracks me up. He just has like this humor that I think is just really funny and cracks me up.
Okay.
So thanks, Mike. Thanks for always bringing a smile to my face. I appreciate it. Plus, he's just like a magician with art. Like that kid can create. He can make anything look amazing. Just tell him an idea and he makes it, and you're like, how? How did you do this?
All right, I'll send him the work for this thumbnail right here.
He would kill it. He's very good.
Okay. All right, that is going to conclude. I want to thank you so much for this. Really appreciate this opportunity to speak with you. I think this was something different. I know Steven does a lot of interviews. He actually has one coming up with the Copium Clinic. You guys make sure to check that one out.
I think that's why it made me nervous, is I'm not normally the person who's doing the interview. So I feel this immense pressure. So hopefully I did not misrepresent Ashes of Creation. I always say this, these thoughts are my thoughts. Don't come at me.
True.
But obviously I do represent Intrepid. And I think like one of the biggest things for me as a developer as a whole is when people say like, we don't care, like the developer, they don't care. It's like the most hard thing for me to consume because we care so much. And I think we try to show that in the actions that we do, not just like saying it, right? Like we are actively polling, like getting your feedback and requesting it. And we're actively creating those reports, and the developers are actively reading it, and we're actively developing. So when people say we're a scam or whatever it might be, I'm like, man, we're working, like we've got people working really, really hard and really, really passionately. And they are just such an amazing team to work with. And it breaks my heart when I hear things like that. So I think,
that's got to be tough.
So imagine we're working really hard.
Putting in like a 10-hour shift, or in Steven's case, putting in a lot of money or working long hours, and then you're like, all right, cool, we finally got that out the way. And then you check a comment section, it's a scam. Like, I can't empathize with that. Like, I can't imagine what that feels like. So yeah, I appreciate you guys.
I mean, from a creator perspective, I think it could be something similar to like, oh, you're a shell, or oh, you suck, stop doing your work, right? Like it's just hard to hear those things. Like,
oh, this video sucks, or so it just.
And I can't control that, but I just want you to know that we have an amazing team of people who are working really hard, and they love what they do. They're passionate about what they do. Steven has curated such an amazing team of people who truly, truly, truly love what they do, each in their own like departments. And their specialties. And I think like it is just amazing to see that talent. And on a day-to-day basis, when you're talking to someone and you see their passion, it is awesome. So I just want you to know
That's
we're
awesome.
getting there. It may
Yeah.
take us time, and we may pivot. We may have bugs. We may have changes. And things might not always go as planned, but we'll do our best to at least let you know what's changing, why, and how we're moving forward from there. And I just want that to be really clear to people.
Nice. Well said. Yeah, I think this was a great talk. Something from a different perspective than what Steven may offer, which is always great, of course. I've spoken with Steven a
Hopefully,
couple of times.
still, useful for you.
Oh no, definitely. I think
Yeah.
seeing things from a different point of view or a different voice, I think is important. I think a lot of the community would agree with that. Pretty much the opposite of that guy that goes out his way to email you. I think we're all. I appreciate everything you said, and glad that you
It's wild
did
to me.
this.
I'm like, some people got way too much time on
Yeah,
their
that's a
hands.
little. That's a lot of. Like I
Like,
got people
do
that
something
hate
productive, please.
the amount of commitment that some people on the or time free time people have on the internet. Like there was one I shouldn't motivate them, but there's some Ashes of Creation hate watchers. You see them I click their icon, it tells you how many times they've commented on the channel. I'm like, oh my,
And they
for
go
some,
to every
yeah,
video and they just
yes,
hate.
it's like you, and
Sometimes I'm
then
like, are they a bot? Are they a real
yeah,
person?
and then I
No.
see them on other people's videos. Like for something you don't like, you are consuming
Spend a
like
lot of time consuming it,
me
right?
personally, nothing to anybody that do like hockey, but I don't watch hockey. I'll watch football, basketball, but I don't watch hockey. I don't know what's going on. I've been to
He's so
hockey games. I
good.
like watching the
I'm a
fights.
hockey
I like
player.
watching the fights. Like I actually been to some hockey games, but I'm not watching it on TV. Or basically TLDR. Well, in short, it's not on my YouTube feed, right? Like hockey is not on my YouTube feed. I'm not gonna go click on those hockey videos to get it in my algorithm, then comment, hockey sucks. Why are you guys watching this? This team sucks. Like what kind of let's just leave it there.
And there's a whole behavioral thing. Like if you want to get into psychology about that stuff, it's very interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know. I don't know why people spend that time. But go do something more productive.
Yeah.
Go do something you love doing.
Something Steven said a while back kind of resonates with me. He said something along the lines of like, none of this will matter come launch. Like
Yeah.
development, I mean, open development is what it is. And like, there may be a hiccup, there may be a delay here and there, but once launch comes, like all the hate commenters, all these, they're more than likely going to come check out the game, especially depending on what's presented, right? Like
Yeah.
they'll be back or whatever the case may be. It's going to be successful.
Well, and
No
that's what I
matter
said. I
what.
said earlier in this interview, I was like, maybe this time of development is not for you, but I do think people will come back. Because I think often people are like, with open development, do you think that you're like losing that retention from users, like that those people won't come back because they had like a bad experience? And I was like, most of the time when people like ask for a refund or leave, it's not because it's not because of stuff that like we aren't aware of. It's all things like for the most part that we're aware of, or if it's their own money situation,
Yeah, yeah.
that's a different thing. But like if it's game related, we're like, yeah, those things will get resolved, and then they can come back and play it when it's ready to be played. Obviously, right now we're testing, and we want testers who want to play through play testing, right? And if you want that experience, you want to be part of it, you want to give feedback and see the game come to fruition in a way that you'd like to, and help influence that, come join us. If you're not into that, don't. Just come back whenever it's launched. We're gonna make a big hubbub when we launch. Where it's gonna be a big deal. We have some really cool stuff planned. That's I love events and I love launches. They're super fun. And anybody who's been part of a launch party that I've run, I'm gonna make it a good time.
So was that an invite just now or
Yeah,
let's
people
go.
should come. It's gonna be fun.
All right.
We'll definitely have a big party, and it's gonna be a lot of fun.
Sweet. All right. Well, we're going to end it there. We have phase 3 incoming, a lot of things coming. Anything else you want to make everyone aware with phase 3 or any news incoming or?
Yeah, I think that we're with phase 3, Alpha 2 phase 3, we would love for you guys to join us. We have a whole bunch of features that are going to come out with that. And then as we move forward, we're going to be pushing new updates out with more content, more features, more systems. and really just work on ensuring that we get to a feature complete state. That, like that's going to be a lot of work that we still have to do. For those of you who have been here with us for the long haul, we appreciate you immensely. We thank you so much for your feedback. With PTR testing right now, it's so valuable for us. So when we're giving you specific things to test and features to test, we want to push that into the prod realm as well. So which is the live, whenever we move to phase 3, you will see more of that focus testing where we're like asking you, hey, can you guys focus on these features and systems as well? So I think that is something that the community has been asking for. They're like, hey, give us more direction. And I think we'll try where that makes sense, but we also do want an environment where we let you do what you want to do too, because that gives us different type of behavior data too.
Yeah.
And so we're going to find a good balance between that. And we have some events that we've been running in game. I think we did one last Friday on the 11th, and I know folks had a lot of fun with that. So hopefully you enjoy that. We'll do more of those as we progress. And I just really appreciate everybody being part of this community. Appreciate you, Nyce. Thank you for inviting me on here. I know this might be a little different. You all want Steven, but you got me. Hopefully it was good. But if you have questions for me, feel free to send them my way. I try my best to get back to everybody. It is a lot of people who message me like, Nyce's question. But we do our best. And I think like I said before, we just have a lot of talented, really passionate people who work for us. And we're going to do our best to create something amazing for you guys. That isn't for everybody, but the people who it is for, I think you will enjoy what we're going to be doing. It's just let us get there, let us cook, as they say.
Let them cook.
We got many chefs; they're all cooking. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll ramble on forever. So please take it away.
All right, thank you guys so much
Take
for
the mic,
watching. As she said, Intrepid does read the comments and will likely especially be reading these comments. So make sure you comment your thoughts below. Yeah, and until the next time, we'll see you. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.
It's been nice. I want to give a special thanks once again to Intrepid Studios for this opportunity. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button as it helps others to find it. And now's a good time to make sure you're subscribed. Thank you to all of our Twitch subs and YouTube channel members. If you would like to help support the channel and videos like this, links in the description to support via YouTube channel membership, Patreon, and Twitch is available. Thank you so much for watching. It's been nice.